Hello, everyone. Today, I would like to take you on a journey to explore the path of sacred feminine. It's a very, very sacred subject, and it's very important for women who intend to pursue spiritual path, who intend to return to their own essence, and who wish to understand the root cause of various imbalances in their body, in their energetic structure, and why the path to real spirituality remains veiled. It's also a very useful video for men who would like to find the real path of spiritual evolution rather than pursuing the dead-end paths of constant action, reaction, ambition, spiritual pursuits, and gliding along the surface. So, what is the path of spiritual, sacred feminine? It is the path of reconnecting with your own inner power, inner essence, but the way we do it is through our body. So, in all the real secret teachings, the feminine is the body. Now, all the girls and boys come from the mother. The mother is the beginning. And the interesting realization that I had and like to share is that when we have mother wounds, which can transpire in different ways, we cannot find the real spiritual path. Even when you experience a phenomenon of awakening, you may still be driven by confusion, illusions, and even delusions. That's why, for example, it is a known fact that people are afraid of Kundalini awakening, spiritual awakening, because they know that they cannot navigate through it. And the reason for it is that they refuse to address one and the most vital point, which is facing the maternal wound. Now, most of our wounds come from the mother. Even if you experience certain negative experiences with your father and all, the blemish will always be somewhat consciously, unconsciously, knowingly, unknowingly towards the mother. And it will transpire in the physical reality as the antagonizing feeling or rejecting your own body. And in case of females, it is rejecting your own femininity. Now, a lot of women nowadays, young girls too, prepubescent and pubescent girls, suffer different issues in the sacred center, abdominal issues, premenstrual, postmenstrual, hormonal imbalances, endometriosis, early premature menopause, or different other similar related issues. And this is because there is a strong maternal wound. It is not physical, it is energetic, it is spiritual. Spiritually, it can be explained as the rejection of the world, rejection of creation, antagonizing with creation, escaping from creation, not embracing your being, your conscious being, wanting, seeking, but not being able to surrender. On the energetic or bioenergetic level, it transpires as different issues, as low immunity, autoimmune diseases. But they all come from the inability to embrace one's own femininity, because the wound, the trauma, came from the female representative, the neglect, the abandonment, or maybe your mother didn't defend you. Maybe your mother wasn't there when you needed. Maybe your mother wasn't there emotionally. Maybe the mother didn't protect you in certain moments. And many, many other situations that can transpire as circumstances where the mother, according to your perception, wasn't there for you. Now it builds resentment, it builds anger, and anger creates or lowers your immunity, creates antagonistic undercurrents within your consciousness that become blocks, stumbling blocks, or some kind of energetic impediments, as well as create, I would say, energetic holes. Now, it has to do with the later on parasitic, say, invasions. So when we have this root, the original root of trauma, which is maternal wound, it settles in our energetic system, lowers our bioenergetic shield, which is immunity, and opens certain places, which would be, in case of most of females, the sacred center, the solar plexus, the root. So the lower area of the body to the invasive parasitic energy, toxic parasitic energy. So if, plus when the girl is mature or around 13, 14 years old or earlier, she becomes mature, she gets menstruation. And when she gets menstruation, she gains access to her ancestral information. Now, all that which she's related to in terms of wounding, maternal wounding, becomes now ancestral wounding along the maternal bloodline. Now, it will affect her life. It may cause blockages. When women suffer different types of blockages, low libido, infertility, early, premature menopause, or kind of like the menstruation has begun and then stopped just after a couple of years. All of these are related to the stagnant anger and inability to release that anger. Eventually, it creates blockage, the aversion towards the one's own feminine essence or motherhood, which blocks or contracts the sacred center. Now, in a later age, a lot of women also suffer these type of phenomena, and we created normality out of all kinds of unhealthy symptoms which we think of or consider as a normality related to menopause. So women go through all kinds of things, but all of these symptoms are the outcome of the presence of the parasitic energy on the biological and psychospiritual levels. If one doesn't heal or doesn't start the spiritual journey, the real spiritual journey, and how can they if there's no reference point? And all the spirituality is hijacked by the logical, rigid, masculine, imbalance forms of spirituality. A female is doomed to find the real sacred path unless it is her destiny. Now, if a woman starts her journey from the puberty, she will eventually realize and unblock herself, release all these wounds, forgive the mother. But this forgiveness is easily said than done. It is not on a mental, intellectual level. You have to reach that depth through the process of inner refinement and purgation after the spiritual awakening, so that you can actually truly relieve yourself from that. Until then, there will be imbalances. The sacred center, the solar plexus, the heart, all the centers will be suffering and misaligned. And if the woman is around her menopause or perimenopause period, she will be also suffering. All these signs will be about the presence of parasites. And the parasites are there only because of the resentment, of the energy of resentment and denial, rejection of her own femininity. And the stronger the rejection, the more it will transpire as, let's say, infertility or premature menopause or other issues of severe nature like endometriosis. That is all anger to the mother. It's the maternal wound that needs to be healed, released, and one is to embrace one's own femininity instead of rejecting. Many women are not conscious about it. For example, they cannot stand other women, they compete with other women, although they could benefit if they could approach it differently. But the trauma prevents them from healthy connection with other female representatives. And when they connect to men, they connect through the trauma. The trauma attracts them to specific type of men who will exhibit the same behavior as their primary caretakers, mostly the mother. And in case of men, they will, if they have a strong maternal wound, they will also reject femininity. They will reject everything that is of caring, loving nature, consciously or subconsciously, and they will be attracted more to toxic women, to women who represent the negative form of femininity. Or they will escape into addictions, obsessions, different kinds of spiritual illusions, delusions. They will argue with women, resent them, consciously, unconsciously. But for women, it's mostly detrimental because women are also mothers themselves. And if they do not resolve this issue between them and the mother, this will follow them throughout the life. And they will finish this life path bitter and disturbed and probably, or most probably physically destroyed. Because this resentment, this personal rejection towards the sacred feminine, not being able to embrace your own femininity, your motherhood, creates or blocks the sacred center, creates infertile women. And you may explain it scientifically, you may test your body. It will not show it. Because this is energetic and spiritual issue that only transpires through the physical body. And it has to be healed the same way from the root, which is consciousness. You are to shift and embrace your own femininity, your own sacredness as a female, regardless to whether you like your mother or not. And only then you can also relate to the mother, put yourself into her shoes no matter what, and release the whole traumatic experience with the story, and mostly important, the feeling that is related to the story. Because the story itself doesn't matter. It only propels and prolongs the pain, the suffering, the blockage. So this is very important to understand for all the women who want to heal and regenerate. Because if you antagonize with your mother, if you carry that maternal wound, you will antagonize with the world. You will always feel against the world. You will want to be special. You will want to be chosen. You will want to be seen. And the world will always appear as if something you are to fight with, or to conquer, or to find validation from. But in all these cases, the root is one and the same. You oppose yourself to the world. Your body is mostly from the maternal genetic material. And when you antagonize with your mother, or resent her secretly, knowingly or unknowingly, you reject your body. Your consciousness cannot accept the body. And that's why, or this way, you create a lot of imbalances, because the body perceives that rejection. You want to abandon the body, so you start self-destructive, or you initiate self-destructive paths, the paths of addiction, the paths of extremes, the paths of self-destruction, the paths of delusional spirituality. Now, for this type of women, the paternal methods of spirituality seem to be more familiar. That's why it's so easy to go into austerities, dieting, discipline, linear, logical, analytical, practical methods that can be logically explained. But to surrender, to be, to stop controlling is much more difficult. That's why our worldly spirituality is driven by rigidity, concepts, explanations, basically analytical material, but lacks essence, because we reject the sacred feminine that is the flow, that doesn't need to be explained, because it's beyond explanation, it's beyond thought. Logic can think, but the essence is beyond thought. It's beyond emotion. The body doesn't need thoughts, because when it is aligned with consciousness, it perceives it in a thoughtless way, in a selfless way. To be selfless means to be thoughtless. To spiritually evolve means to learn to surrender to the flow, to perceive the pulse, the beat of life through one's own body. The body doesn't think. The body perceives. The body navigates intuitively. When it is aligned with consciousness, when consciousness stops rejecting the mother, it stops rejecting the body, it embraces, envelops it, and enlightens it. And that's the purpose of real spirituality that is almost unknown to the majority of people who have embraced the antagonistic approach. They haven't healed themselves, but they want spiritual wisdom, power, and knowledge, and they think that they can get it, obtain it forcefully through some type of logical, analytical, rigid practices, when the sacred path remains unknown, because it's the path of surrender. It's the path of with no name. It's the pathless path. It's the path beyond thought. It's the path of awakening and letting go. When you go deeply into absorption, absorption becomes the tool. the tool of self-cultivation and refinement. Because when you stay in the absorption, you cultivate, you fish out all these distortions slowly, slowly. You uproot them by bringing them to your awareness. And then you dissolve them. You let go, you forgive. When you forgive your mothers, you also forgive your fathers. Because the hardest to heal is the maternal wound, which distorts one's life and destiny. We rewrite destiny when we dissolve maternal wound. Then we align with our higher being, consciousness, eternal essence, and we begin a new life. The life free from distortion, the life full of joy and contentment, abundance and surrender, where you don't need to think, you don't need to force anything like you did before through those paternal spiritual paths where you needed to forcefully diet without involving your consciousness. You thought if you just do these rigid things, you will succeed. But spirituality starts and ends with one common denominator. It's consciousness aligned with the body. You start with consciousness, you end with consciousness, but in between, it is the path of the body, the enlightenment of the body. First you heal, then you refine, then you regenerate and enlighten. The body cannot be enlightened as long as consciousness keeps on draining itself through distorted ideas of self while being in the body and the world. And if consciousness antagonizes with the world, does not accept its essence, its roots, does not face itself, the body will suffer. And it will be reflected on different levels as energetic blockages and then as physical ailments. It means that those areas of the body which process those emotions or store them, they will reflect the low bioenergetic shield in that area, which will be an opening to parasitic energies. Again, when we want to detox, we want to do all these different rigid practices and all, they have to be aligned with conscious detox. Without that, there is no progress. Because whatever you do on the physical level has only very little benefit. All the work, alchemical work, transmutation is done on the energetic and spiritual or conscious levels first. And the body is the fruit. The result of this work will be seen on the body. And by trying to force, for example, antiparasitic detox through severe austerities detox, is not going to take you far as long as you are not addressing maternal wounds and all the distortions that sprout out of it. Denying oneself, denying one's own femininity, or denying the connection with one's own feminine side, denying the body, doubting yourself, punishing yourself, isolating, escaping, judging oneself, living in denial, pursuing the paths of self-validation, whether spiritually or materially or emotionally, etc. All of these sprout out from the maternal wound. And in order to heal and return to peace, contentment, alignment, we need to release all that which swirls the energy inside, which lowers the bioenergetic shield and welcomes parasitic energy. Because if on the spiritual, psychospiritual level, You are not concealed from the parasitic tendencies, thoughts, and emotions. The physical level will be infested. You may take a lot of antiparasitic substances, and yet the body will still be infested because the energetic shield is easily penetratable because there is a wound. The wound is like an energetic hole. On a biospiritual level, it transpires as an energetic hole. And whatever has an energetic hold is also vibrating kind of low frequency, which welcomes similar frequency. Then you start having negative thought, self-depriving thoughts. Your so-called self-confidence declines. You no longer value yourself. Because in order to really gain true confidence, which is unconditional value of self, it's a perception, you need to define yourself from all the conditional statements within your consciousness that make you feel as a valuable human being. But can you value yourself in an unconditional way? When you're rejected, when you're denied, when you're not appreciated or validated by anything from the outside. Now, when you refine yourself, you return to that state of unconditional confidence, power, but it's selfless because it's thoughtless. It doesn't analyze itself. It has no more rigid ways and angular paths. To balance the sacred center, the solar plexus, we are to let go of deep wounds, resentments towards our mothers in all generations through our own mother, and forgive our fathers, because fathers come from mothers. So it's always the corruption of the maternal lineages that produces corrupt, ignorant, and spiritually imbalanced men. But everything starts and ends with a mother. Our humanity will start returning to true spirituality only when both men and women start dissolving maternal wounds, embracing their flesh, appreciating it as the direct emanation of consciousness, and refining their consciousness so that the light of that consciousness transpires in a beautiful way through the body, through each cell, regenerating it, restoring its balance, and returning it to life, to the flow of life. Because many people seem to be living, but yet they are not aligned with the flow of life. This transmission is going to assist you in this process of return, release, forgiveness, and dissolution of the essential wounds and all the distortions related to that. You will realize. You may watch this transmission whenever you feel drawn to it, and you will benefit enormously. The purpose of spirituality is not awakening of a particular center. It's the refinement of consciousness and alignment of this consciousness with the body so that the body can be the fruit of the refined consciousness. When you no longer seek, you're found. You are the immortal essence. You are beyond mother, father, or anyone you know. But since you've gotten this body, take care of it, embrace it. Embrace its peculiarities. And find that alignment. All the women watching it will experience miraculous healings, balance of the sacred, the alignment of the entire root of the 3 energy centers, the low energy centers, the healing, the balancing, and return to the sacred feminine path. And all the men who are able to surrender will dissolve the rigidity and will return and get in touch with their own sacred feminine. The healing is now. Thank you all, the well-wishers, supporters, subscribers, and people who comment. If you have any questions, you may always reach out to me. Seek guidance from my perspective, insight. And if you're not yet a subscriber, being a subscriber supports this channel and the purpose of its existence. If you benefited, you may always support us by donating. Your support is highly appreciated. Thank you very much, and blessings to all of you.